Thank you for that, Steve. Well, we're going to get you caught up to date on the latest on the Moreland Commission controversy now. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Larry Schwartz, he's Governor Cuomo's secretary and one of his top aides, has agreed to meet with the U.S. Attorney's Office later this month. This on the heels of that New York Times reporting that U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara is threatening to investigate the governor's office for witness tampering, claiming that he asked former commissioners to make comments about their work. Commission members had told the Times that Schwartz was the point man in a Cuomo administration effort to steer the investigation away from people or businesses who had ties to Cuomo. Here to weigh in now on these latest developments and explain the importance of this week's Marist College poll is our political analyst, New York Post state editor Fred Dicker, joining us as always from Albany. And Fred, let's talk about that first, then the Larry Schwartz component here. I heard you on the radio today, and you had some pretty strong comments about, this voluntary appearance before the U.S. attorney. Why don't you tell everybody who wasn't listening or may have listened and wants to know more?
Well, let me note, Liz, that the New York Post, my paper, also had this story. It wasn't just the Wall Street Journal. And we pointed out in the Post, and I mentioned it on the air, that you don't voluntarily go to a U.S. attorney's grand jury, because if you say, I'm not going to go, you wind up with a subpoena. So the inside word here is that Larry Schwartz and the governor's people, and Schwartz is a top aide to the governor, the governor's people really were behind this story getting out to make it sound like Larry Schwartz had an option of whether he was going to cooperate or not, when in fact Preet Bharara, the U.S. attorney down in the Southern District of New York, was going to subpoena him to come in, to tell what he knows, to answer questions about whether he was trying to influence witnesses before the federal grand jury, as has been alleged.
Talk a little bit about this Marist poll coming out this week, because these may be, well, these are clearly the first numbers we will see, but they may show some decline in Cuomo's favorability. That seems to be the general consensus.
Well, I don't see how it could not show a decline in the governor's standing. I mean, he's been hammered for a week and a half or 2 weeks with the worst scandal of his political career. It's made national news over and over again. And the expectation for this poll, which we expect to come out tomorrow or Wednesday, is that the governor's numbers are going to go down, that Rob Astorino, his Republican opponent's numbers, will go up. And the implications of that are very serious. It has to do with whether or not outside money will come into the state to help Rob Astorino. It could give a real boost to Zephyr Teachout, one of the Democratic opponents to Governor Cuomo in the primary that's coming up in September. It's coming up pretty fast. People don't realize it, that the governor has two opponents on the ballot, Zephyr Teachout and a comedian activist, Randy Credico. So if the governor's going down, you're going to hear a lot of people saying this is significant, because it'll be just a poll of a snapshot in time. If he's going down, if he's has gone down, Liz, it probably means he's going to continue to go down further and not stop wherever that poll shows he is.
What kind of percentage points do you think that if he were to see would be very alarming to him, as opposed to something he could live with or he could hope to build from?
Sure. Well, he was way ahead, 37 points ahead of Rob Astorino in the most recent poll we've seen. If he drops 10 points, that's going to be seen as very serious, a major problem for him. Anything more than that may be disastrous. If it's 5 or 6 points, that'll suggest, as we expect, he's on the decline, but it won't be a disaster. Let me just quickly note another thing. Chris Christie, the Republican governor of New Jersey, is under increasing fire for not helping out Rob Astorino. He's head of the Republican Governors Association that's supposed to be helping Republican candidates for governor. If Cuomo goes down, it's going to be harder for Chris Christie, who many believe has a sweetheart deal with Governor Cuomo, to hold off giving some money to help Rob Astorino.
A lot of implications from this.
Yes.
We'll be watching closely, and I know you'll be talking to us about it once those numbers are out. All right. Thank you very much, Fred. And a quick reminder, too, as I mentioned, Fred's radio program, always a great listen, live from the state capitol, weekday mornings 10 to 11 on Talk 1300 AM.